We bring in Jonathan Turley, constitutional attorney, GW law professor, and a Fox News contributor. Jonathan, welcome. Several things we want to get to here, but it is stunning to see mugshots of Mark Meadows, the former chief of staff, and also Rudy Giuliani's we saw yesterday, which does make it seem as if we're going to see one of the former president as well. Do you think?
I think so. And first of all, great job last night. You have a future as a cat herder if this media thing doesn't work out. It was quite impressive. But yeah, it does make it very likely that we will see this rather ignoble moment of a mugshot. It appears to most of us being just clearly gratuitous why you would need a mugshot of the most recognizable face in the United States, if not one of the most in the world. But that is going to be part of this process, as is the bond that he will have to pay. And then it's going to get, as they say, rather sporty, because there's going to be an effort to try to get some of these issues reviewed before trial. That could be difficult with a racketeering case. Prosecutors tend to say, look, you might not like my evidence, but I've got enough of it that I should be able to get to a jury. A lot of appellate judges agree with that. The problem is that, this is an indictment, Martha, where there are strong claims against some of these defendants. When you look at insular crimes like access to voting machines, it's not that strong, in my view, with Donald Trump. In fact, I think it collapses if you believe that Trump believed that he could flip the state, that he did in fact win the state, and he took the advice of his legal team. That's not the type of case I think that's good for democracy. I don't think it's good to have a Democratic prosecutor pulling in the leading Republican candidate on that type of thin connection.
Yeah. One of the defendants, Ken Chesebro, asked for a speedy trial through his attorneys, and speedy it is. October 23rd, which is just a few months away. Everything I have heard about this case, and I believe from you as well, Jonathan, to get 19 defendants lined up in a RICO case and ready to go in really what's a matter of weeks, is that even possible?
Right. I mean, you had your hands full with 8 cats. Try 19 in a courtroom. And how you would get all of these defendants in a case in that amount of time, that is a NASCAR pace. And I don't think that it would serve justice. This is a complex case. This prosecutor made it that way. And in some ways, she created her own problem. She basically indicted everyone and said, let the jury and God sort them out. And then she included virtually everything she could lay her hands on, from tweets to phone calls to speeches, and said, oh, they're all part of this conspiracy. Well, that's a massive amount of evidence that you're going to be trying to convict 19 people on. I don't think that this is a reasonable date.
So Jim Jordan and the chairman of the Judiciary Committee wrote a letter. One of the questions that they want to pursue in investigating this case, which we seem to see a lot of these days, investigations of investigations, but in this case, they're asking if she was coordinating, the DA in Georgia was coordinating with Jack Smith, the special counsel on the January 6th case. What are they trying to get at there? What would that mean? And is that something that should not have happened?
I don't think it should have happened. I don't like the optics. I also don't like the substance of Congress investigating prosecutors before trial. And more importantly, I think that courts are going to be repelled by this move. This is not a good time, if there is a good time, for such an investigation to occur. They're trying to get ready for trial. I have the same reaction as I did to the indictment in Atlanta. I don't like the looks of a Democrat pulling in the leading Republican without a stronger nexus in the evidence to show a crime. And I have the same reaction to Republicans investigating Democratic prosecutors before trial. We have a court system, the greatest court system in the world. Right. Let's let it work.
Okay. Jonathan Turley, as always, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.